posting order said I was guarding a decommissioned treaty station in the outer Cavith Reach. It did not say I was guarding a queen. It did not say that because, by the time I arrived, she had already signed the papers dissolving her title. Her name was Valith, or had been. The document on the desk when I checked in called her Citizen Valith, formerly of the Rethkai sovereignty, and the ink was still damp. I set my kit bag down next to the duty desk, read the posting order twice, and went to find whoever was nominally in charge of this assignment. I found her instead, standing at the far viewport of the station's upper observation ring, watching a cargo hauler drift past the glass. She was small for a Rethkai, pale gray skin, close-cropped silver hair, amber eyes that caught the light from the passing ship and held it longer than they should have. She wore a plain station-issue tunic. No insignia, no crown. Nothing that said she had, until 4 days ago, commanded a sovereignty spanning 11 systems. She heard my boots on the deck plating and did not turn around. "You can go," she said. "The posting is a clerical error. Released the guard details 6 days ago." "Orders say differently," I said. "Then your orders are out of date." She finally turned. She looked at me the way a person looks at something they've already accounted for and filed away. "I am a private citizen. I don't require a guard. Station still requires a duty officer," I said. "I'll be in the ready room." She looked at me for a moment longer than was comfortable, then turned back to the viewport. I went to the ready room. That was how it started. The station had a crew of 3, not counting me, a maintenance technician named Sovath who mostly kept to the lower decks, a comms relay operator who worked nights and slept days, and the woman who had been a queen. Valith spent most of her time in the upper ring or in the small administrative office off the main corridor, working through what I eventually understood was a systematic process of divestiture. Every morning she sat at that desk and signed something. Every afternoon a courier drone arrived and took it away. I brought her meals from the station galley. She did not ask me to. The first time I set a tray on the edge of her desk, she looked at it, and then at me with an expression I couldn't fully read. "I didn't request this," she said. "You didn't eat yesterday," I said. I checked the galley log. A pause. "That is not your concern. You're the only person on this station who outranks me," I said. "If something happens to you, there's paperwork. I hate paperwork." She almost smiled. Not quite. She pulled the tray closer and ate while she worked, and I went back to my post. The second day, she dismissed me again. Formally, this time, she had printed a release order and signed it, and held it out to me when I brought her morning meal, took the document, read it, set it on the corner of her desk and put her tea down beside it. "Orders noted," I said. "I'll file it when I'm off duty. You will file it now, after you eat." She stared at me. I was 43 years old, and I had been stared at by things considerably more frightening than a former queen in a station-issue tunic, and I had learned a long time ago that the secret was simply not to move. She looked away first. She picked up the tea. I never filed the release order. By the 4th day, she had stopped trying to dismiss me and started, cautiously, talking to me. It happened in the observation ring. I had come up to do my standard end-of-watch sweep and found her at the viewport again. This time she was sitting on the deck, her back against the bulkhead, her knees drawn up, looking at the stars the way people look at things they've already said goodbye to. I sat down on the deck 4 feet away from her and did not say anything. Sometimes that is the whole job. After a while she said, "Do you know what I did?" "No," I said. 14 months ago I authorized a resettlement directive for the Outer Cavith colonies, resource reallocation. It was the economically correct decision. The colonies were a net drain on the sovereignty's infrastructure budget. She paused. 41,000 people. I moved them to 3 consolidated habitation platforms in 6 weeks. 2 of the platforms were substandard. One failed its pressure integrity 6 months later. 1,100 people. She said it flatly. The way people say things they've rehearsed so many times the words have worn smooth. "So you're giving the sovereignty back," I said. "I'm giving everything back. The fleet, the treasury reserves I controlled personally, the seat on the Cavith Reach Council, the title." She looked at her hands. "None of it was mine to keep." "Who told you that?" "No one had to tell me. She stopped. "It's the correct conclusion." "Whose conclusion?" She looked at me then, and I could see she wasn't used to the question. The advisors had gone. The court had processed her abdication with appropriate gravity and gone with it. Soveth kept the station running and didn't ask her anything. The comms operator worked nights. There had not been anyone to ask her whose conclusion it was, because everyone around her had already decided she was right. Mine, she said finally. All right, I said. Walk me through it. She did. It took the better part of an hour. The full accounting she had clearly made many times in her own mind, precise and damning and constructed, with the rigorous honesty of someone determined to find themselves guilty. The directive, the platforms, failure, the 1100, every decision in the chain, and her hand on everyone. I listened to all of it. Then I said, that's a real debt. She nodded, as if I'd confirmed what she knew. It doesn't mean you're worth nothing, I said. The silence after that was different from the ones before it. On the 8th day, a courier drone brought the final document. I was in the ready room running a maintenance log when she passed the door. Something in the way she walked made me get up and follow. She went to the administrative office and sat at the desk and laid the document flat. I stood in the doorway. She did not tell me to leave, which I took as permission to stay. The document was a name dissolution filing. Rethkai naming rights reverted to the sovereignty's civil registry upon abdication, but there was a secondary form, a voluntary personal filing, something a Rethkai citizen could do of their own accord. A formal severance from the name itself, which had been a royal name for 6 generations. She was the last of the line. When she signed this, Valeth would cease to exist as a legal identity. She would be assigned a registry number. She picked up the pen. I crossed the room and put my hand over hers. She went very still. She did not pull away. She looked at my hand over hers, and then she looked up at me, and her amber eyes were composed, wet at the edges, but composed. The way someone looks when they have been braced for a long time against something large and they are very tired. This is the last one, she said. No, I said. It's the correct. It isn't, I said. I've been listening to you for 8 days, and I've heard a lot of things that are true, and this isn't one of them. I took the pen from her hand and set it on the far edge of the desk, beyond her reach without standing. You made a decision that cost 1,100 people their lives, I said. That's real. That debt is real. But you have spent 14 months paying it by making yourself smaller, and the 1,100 are still gone. And you being gone won't bring them back. It'll just mean there are 1,101. She was looking at me very carefully now, the way a person looks when they are trying to determine if someone is real. You don't have the authority to stop me, she said. No, I agreed. I'm a garrison guard on a decommissioned station. I've got no authority over anything. I'm asking you. Why? I thought about it. I had been thinking about it for 8 days. In the ready room at end of watch, watching a woman who had ruled 11 systems strip herself down to nothing because she'd decided that was what she owed. I had seen a lot of things in 20 years of garrison postings. I had never seen anyone work as hard as she was working to disappear. 'Cause I've watched you for 8 days. I said, and I've seen someone who remembers every one of those 1,100 by name. I've seen someone who cross-references her own accounting to make sure she isn't letting herself off easily. I've seen someone who is trying everything she has to do right by the people she hurt. I looked at her. That's not a person the galaxy can afford to lose. That's a person who should be somewhere building something, because she will never stop caring whether it holds. The room was very quiet. The station's ventilation system cycled. Somewhere below us, Soveth was running a calibration on the water recyclers. Valeth looked at the pen at the far edge of the desk. She did not reach for it. After a long time, she said softly, I don't know what I would build. That's all right, I said. You've got time to figure it out. I'm not going anywhere. She looked at me then, really looked. The way she had not quite looked at anyone since I'd arrived. Like she was seeing something she had stopped expecting to find. Eyes were still wet at the edges. She did not try to hide it. You're a very stubborn man, she said. Garrison posting, I said, comes with the assignment. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, the galley has that bitter grain tea I don't like. I know, I said. I've been ordering the other kind. Should be in on the next supply drone. Something shifted in her face. Not quite a smile, not quite relief. Something older and quieter than either of those. She looked down at her hands, then back up at me. Darrow, she said. It was the first time she had used my name. Yes, don't file that release order. Already didn't, I said. She nodded once, the way someone nods when they've made a decision they intend to keep. Then she stood and straightened. Just a moment, she looked like what she was. Not a citizen awaiting a registry number. Not a woman who had decided to vanish. Someone who had survived something enormous and was slowly turning back toward the world. I walked her to the observation ring. We watched the stars together for a while, and neither of us said anything. That was enough.